All right. All right, so everybody have a survey right now? We'll discuss the answers later, but I just want you to have it and kind of follow along as I go through the brief. All right, good morning, everybody. All right, we're going to talk about the effects of online gaming addiction. I'm Dr. Greg Mabry. I'm an Army social worker slash psychologist out of Fort Campbell, and just going to talk about some of the trends that I see in soldiers today and go over some of the case studies that I'm presenting to you as far as online gaming addiction, and I'm going to give you the extremes on both sides. All right, so because I am a government entity, I have to give the disclaimer. Everything I tell you today, the U.S. military doesn't endorse it. I'm here on my own accord. Got to do that. All right, so let's give an overview of online gaming addiction. What is online gaming addiction? Clinically, it's anything that shows academic, social, or occupational impairment. So if you game for 12 hours straight and you're able to go to your job and function and have a girlfriend and everything's hunky-dory, then it's not a problem to me, it's not a problem to you, it's not a problem to her. But when you start showing signs that, you know what, this is impacting my life in a negative way, then yeah, you have an addiction. All right, not bashing gaming. Love gaming. I'm an avid Left 4 Dead 2 player, love Counter-Strike. I don't touch MMOs because I know how I would be if I got into MMOs. But, you know, why is this guy talking to me? Well, to give you a little bit of background, I'm an Army social worker, so I work with people who have anxiety issues, depression. And when people come to me, they don't say, hey, Dr. Mabry, I have a gaming addiction. No, it's something else. I'm depressed, I got in trouble at work, I'm anxious about taking this test. Why is that? Well, we're going through some of the case studies to show you why some of these people have these problems. All right, public perception of online gaming addict. And I'm not going to lie, South Park kind of got it right. You have the Rockstar energy drinks. You have the dirty laundry in the corner. You have the guy who has that brace because he has been clicking and in that position for so long, he can't move his hand. Custom computer case, and so forth and so on. So this is the public perception of who we are. Hopefully it's not too close to reality for some of us. Just saying. All right, so it's time for this guy to leave the house. Sunlight burns his eyes, right? Kicking and screaming. So this is some of us who, let's say, play World of Warcraft, and okay, it's time to go to work, but just a few more minutes, just a few more minutes. All of a sudden, you're late for work, and your boss is saying, what happened? And you got to think of some elaborate excuse to try to say, I wasn't gaming. But these are the addicts I work with. This is somebody who works at McDonald's or has a job to where, okay, I'm late, no biggie, no harm, no foul. These people, if they're late to their job, if they miss movement, if they oversleep, dire consequences, and not just for them, you know, for the people that they're protecting. In the military, we have strict rules. Being late, that's just not even an option. Do you have anybody who's affiliated with the military or former military in here? Okay. So, who's heard this before? To be early is to be on time. Who wants to finish it? Who wants to finish that saying?
To be on time is to be late.
And to be late is to be... There's another acronym we use called FUBAR. We won't say what F stands for, but F'd up beyond any recognition. So there is no late. You're either early. Well, actually, there's late. You're either early or you're late. There's no on time. All right, so who says I'm an addict? Now, in the mental health field, we call it the Bible. And this Bible is called the DSM-4, the Diagnostic Statistics Manual of Mental Disorders. If you look through the DSM-4, you will not see internet addiction. You will not see online gaming addiction. And I'm going to tell you why. The DSM-5, that comes out 2013-ish. No one knows when it's going to be released. They're talking May, and this is kind of update to the Bible. And then the IAT, that's what you have in your hand right now, the Internet Addiction Test. And we'll go into those things in more detail. And if you have questions or something strikes a chord, please let me know. We can go right into it. You don't have to wait till the very end. All right, so the DSM-4. This manual, the Bible that all the psychiatric people use, it came out in 1994. So everything that's ever going to be wrong with you mentally, it didn't exist after 1994. The DSM-3, which came out prior to this, believe it or not, homosexuality was considered a mental disorder. So the DSM is affected by cultural trends. And if you think about 1994, we weren't doing a lot of online gaming back in 1994. When you start talking about 1995, 96, you get into Warcraft 2, StarCraft. We had a stable, well, not stable, I say quote unquote stable, dial-up connection. So that's when you start seeing online gaming addiction kind of take hold. And you may have been on the computer and you would get an angry message from your mom saying, hey, your granny's been trying to call you for the past 6 hours, but you're tying up the phone line. That's when people outside the gaming community start saying, hey, maybe my son or daughter, or maybe I'm addicted because I'm just dead to the world because they can't get a hold of me by one way or another. Okay, so a smart guy named Dr. Goldberg, he said, you know what, I'm starting to see some of these things, but there's nothing in our Bible that could diagnose them or to diagnose them with. So he looked at everything in the DSM and looked at the diagnostic criteria, and the closest thing he came to is pathological gambling. So to a clinician, a pathological gambler and an internet addict or an online gaming addict, the criteria is essentially the same. Replace gambling with gaming, replace gambling with internet, and that's the criteria that they kind of apply it to. So in order to be considered a pathological gambler or an online gaming addict or an internet addict, you have to meet 5 out of 10 criteria. And you're going to see these criteria right about now. 1 through 3. Now, you can say, well, this applies to me or a friend. So feel free to comment on your friend. All right, 1, preoccupation. The subject has frequent thoughts about gambling experiences, whether past, future, or fantasy. Maybe. Tolerance. So how you interpret tolerance in an online gaming. You could used to say, okay, I'm going to game for 20 minutes, I'm good. 20 minutes turned into an hour turned into 2 hours. So that's how they apply that criteria in the tolerance sense. Striking the chord here. Uh-oh. Withdraw. So if you talk to a WoW addict, I'm not saying there are any in here, but the longer they're away from their guild or longer they're away from the game, man, I'm missing up on some loot, missing up on some power leveling. What's going on here? There you go. So again, remember, you just need 5 out of 10. Some of you are already up to 3. Just not pointing fingers.
What do you call it,
A hobby. Difference between a hobby and an addiction, you can quit a hobby anytime you want. Oh, okay. 4 through 7, escape. So whenever I want to de-stress, I go home, I play my game, and everything's okay. Chasing. Okay. How would you apply chasing in an online gaming setting? So let's say you die and you lose XP. Oh man, I got to get my levels back. I got to get to the top of that leaders board. I got to increase my rank. Lying. Okay, so we're among friends here. So if we can talk about gaming, computer stuff, and IT because we're among friends. But when your coworkers at work talking about, yeah, that football game was great this weekend, what did you do? Nothing. Yeah, I watched that football game too. Yeah, go team. Meanwhile, you got that carpal tunnel from those mouse clicks. And then loss of control. People who have who attempted to stop, or their loved one, their girlfriend say, "Hey, you're gaming too much. You gotta choose the game or me." And I choose you, sweetie. While you're gonna click, give me a hug. Click, click, click. Lost control, guys. Again, 5 out of 10. This is through 7 right now. 8, illegal acts. The person has broken the law in order to obtain gambling money. Well, gaming. How would somebody break the law in order to continue their online gaming habit? Neighbor's Wi-Fi. Piracy. Okay.
Playing on the clock at your job.
That's a good one. Those are all good, valid examples. Not saying I've done any of them, but valid examples. But I'm going to the extremes here. All right, so 2010, Romania. This kid came home one day and he tried to log on and play Counter-Strike. Internet wouldn't work. Mom, what's going on? Sweetie, I think you have an online gaming problem. I turned off the internet. Okay, Mom. He stabs her 17 times, takes her money, and goes to the local internet cafe where the police found him at the internet cafe gaming, playing Counter-Strike. So, illegal acts. But hey, he can quit anytime he wants, all right? That was just 8. 9 through 10. You gotta choose the game or me. I think you're playing too much. Okay, sweetie, you're out the door. And then bailout. Hey, I don't really have any money to pay my rent, but I need to pay my subscription fee for EverQuest, and I don't mind living on the street. I can, jack my neighbor's Wi-Fi, but I need my WoW, my EverQuest, or Eve, whatever your poison is. All right, so the DSM-5. I alluded to this earlier. It's coming out. The clinicians have kind of seen this is a problem, and it's kind of a generational thing. Because if you think about it, back in 1994, these psychologists, these social workers, these psychiatrists, think about when they went to school. So we're talking 80s, early 90s. There was no such thing. And some people, if you say the word computers, they get this hazy, glassed over look. And you try to tell a 60-year-old clinician, hey, computer addiction. I have no idea what you're talking about. Moving on. Problem solved. So in 2013, you've had a few generations of gamers, a few generations of people who are just now tech savvy. Says, okay, you know what? It is a problem. Let's explore this further. So hopefully, in the new edition of the DSM, this will be a diagnosable condition. Now, America's a little bit different. In the rest of the world, it's recognized all over the place. China, Korea, Japan, they have re-education camps in China for people who are addicted to the internet. The Finnish military, you can be discharged from the Finnish military with a condition of internet or online gaming addiction. It's that serious and that prevalent around the world. America, we just recently have started re-education treatment facilities. One of them is called Restart. Restart is a facility ran by Dr. Kimberly Young, who Dr. Kimberly Young, who says, you know what, your son or daughter, they're playing too many games. Let's get them back on the right track. Okay, so the IAT, what you have in your hand. It's about a reliable tool. This is what clinicians are using right now to kind of quantify an addiction. And when it's used, why is it used? You don't just walk up to somebody and say, hey, you look like a hacker or a gamer, fill this out. Doesn't work that way. So when someone comes to me and they say, hey, I'm depressed, I have this issue, I have anxiety. Oh, okay, well, what do you do to relax? I watch TV, I go to movies, I play computer games. Computer games? Tell me more. Oh, I play Call of Duty. Okay, so you can just hit pause and go do something else, right? Pause? No, I play with my friends. So if there's a history of their way to relax is geared towards online gaming, I'll kind of slip them this. Now, in my mind, I've already said, yeah, I can see where he's going with this. But it's not me that I'm trying to treat. It's them. And it's better for the patient to kind of have a self-awareness, to have an insight. So you know how if you have I won't say a nagging wife, that's sexist. Let's say you have a nagging significant other. Says, hey, honey, you need to do this. Got it. But your best friend can say the exact same thing, and it's a totally new concept. Well, it's the same thing. If I say, hey, you need to cut down your gaming, whatever, this guy's know what he's talking about. But then I hand him a sheet of paper, he fills it out and says, wait a minute, an independent source is saying, I have a problem. Interesting. So the IAT is a very powerful tool, and it's used to really spark that self-awareness and that insight. All right, so case studies. How are these people that I've worked with compared to my friends? Number one. All right, so in all these examples, they're all military. So 31-year-old Caucasian male is being seen for anxiety for missing formation. Why would he be missing morning formation? Tired. Why would he be tired? Staying up all night. Okay. So in the military, if you miss formation, we already went over the whole late, early thing. But there are a lot of sanctions that can happen. They can take away your pay. They can take away your rank. You can be confined to post. If you live off post, they can forcibly move you back on post because you missed formation. So it depends. Yes, it depends on the chain of command. It can be once, it can be twice. And most people aren't gonna hammer you the first time, but they're gonna try to work with you. But these people have a pattern. So he had depression before, and when people have depression, they find a way to cope. Whether it's eating, drinking. Well, this method was playing online games. Nothing wrong with it in moderation, but it became his main crutch. And PS3, when people think of online games, yes, the PS3 has online capabilities, but people don't think of it as an online game. It's just, oh, my game. Well, he deployed, and I kind of explored, why did you choose, Call of Duty? Well, when he deployed to Afghanistan, and those of us, my prior service folks in here, did you guys deploy, go overseas? Okay. When did you deploy, if I'm asking? Okay, 07, 08. So you kind of had a better infrastructure, probably where you're at. The internet can be slow sometimes, and your only way of communicating, you have cell phones, they work sometimes, but emailing back and forth is kind of a primary way that we try to communicate daily stuff. Well, he would go to the local internet cafe, and he would shoot an email, wait for a response, and while he would wait for his response, he would play Counter-Strike. That worked for a while, but when you're in a combat deployed environment, misinformation, or it's not really information, but when you miss your duty because you're oversleeping, you're putting other people's lives at risk. There's a method that Dr. Kimberly Young, the creator of your IAT, created for treatment, and it's called CBTIA, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, Internet Addiction. So it's strictly treatment that is geared towards internet addiction. And his measures in the IAT were, he had a significant elevation in 5, 8, and 14. And if you look on your paper, what is 5, 8, and 14, and how does that compare to your friend? Not saying it's going to happen to you, just showing you extreme circumstances, why they come see me, how they present, and what you have in your hand. Any questions so far on, yes?
So, you're talking about gaming, but
Yes.
this could also equally apply to, say, Reddit, right? Or those kind of news aggregation social networks. Anything within any online community, I'm guessing that this applies to, not just strictly gaming.
The reason why I focus on games, online community, it gives you a social outlet. So your social needs are being met. In gaming, your entertainment needs, your need to relax is being met. When you talk about online gaming, now it's a combination of the both. It's social and it's a stress relief with gaming. That's what makes it so enticing. So if I just said, hey, this person's on Facebook 24/7, okay, cool. So what? He's talking to his friends, but then he may do another activity to relax. The combination of the two is a powerful drug. Make sense?
Yeah, but I would go back and say that things like Reddit and these other kind of networks have gamification. They're not straight up games, but they have gamification mechanics that can get at some of what you're talking about with the gaming side. They are kind of games in their own right.
Right.
They have those same mechanics. Yeah, they do have those reputations.
Building a reputation.
Don't you think that, okay,
But yes, to answer your question, that could apply. These are just the case studies that I've had. I don't run into a normal heavy tech savvy user in the military. They exist, obviously, but in my office, they don't exist in my office. But yes, that could apply. Yes, go ahead.
I should think the prevalence of, I'm not gonna call it internet addiction because everything's on time now. But don't you think it's supported by society because parents give the kids little DSs to shut them up when they go somewhere and, you know what I mean? Like they give them little handheld things, it's like, just play your game.
Play your game, boy,
Shut up, you know?
And I have thought of that, and that's more of a generational thing. Because prior to that, parents sat their kids in front of the TV.
Yeah.
You know, TV addiction, does it exist? Oh, okay, I guess. But the prevalence, the effect it's going to have.
You also have the effect with online communication as opposed to face-to-face. It's a lot easier to misunderstand what's being communicated. You don't have all the social cues, expression, tone of voice, all that sort of thing. So some people who are likely to be much ruder online than they are if you're actually talking to somebody.
Face-to-face can atrophy because they're so used to just online communication.
Online you have records. Face to face, people are lying, sack of shit. I want a record.
And we're going to go into the social aspect or the social atrophy that people experience when they spend a lot of time communicating online gaming way. I mean, you have a microphone, you can talk to people while you're, getting a headshot. or talking to your people while you're on a raid. So I'm definitely going to the social aspect of that.
So you're not really talking about using the internet for everyday use. You're talking about where there's actually a problem.
Yes, these people that come to my office, they are here. The presenting problem may not be I game too much. It's, hey, I missed formation, I'm depressed, I had this problem, I'm depressed. And you look at the root cause of their depression, or the root cause of that issue, and it stems from a deficiency or their addiction to gaming.
But wouldn't the addiction be an outlet for stress? I mean, chicken, egg, chicken.
If I'm stressed and then I drink and get a DUI, what was the cause? Was the cause the alcohol, or was the cause the stress? Because other people deal with stress different ways. If I'm stressed, I can go work out. So am I blaming my stress, or am I blaming the alcohol? Right. It's finding a healthy outlet for your stress.
What do they do in these re-education camps?
I'm sorry.
What do they do in the re-education camps? What does that mean?
In the foreign countries, I know in China, and most of the re-education camps, first of all, in China, they're ran by the military. So you're putting civilian populace in a camp or a re-education facility ran by the Chinese military. Kids have been, broken bones, fractured wrists. I know in Korea, they try to beat the addiction out of you. So it's one of those things where you have to look at the context. In the U.S., I know they try to take these people and do like the wilderness thing. Okay, instead of gaming, let's get you out in the nature. Let's get you into hiking. Let's get you some type of physical activity. I know the sun burns your eyes. I know, but let's get you outside. And if people who've actually been away from gaming for a very long time, let's say you've been on a business trip or some type of training, when you get back home, it's like, yeah, I kind of want a game, but I've been away for so long that urge is kind of dissipated. And then they get back into it eventually. But still, it's not as strong and as powerful if you're forced to go cold turkey for one circumstance or another. All of us have an addiction at some point in time. It's just how much of a hindrance is it to our social, occupational, or academics. But yes, go ahead. Yes. Has to do with motivation. So work, okay, I want to do a good job. I'm trying to provide for my family. I'm trying to get that promotion. Where online gaming, it's an artificial achievement. You're still trying to achieve something with your work, but that artificial achievement, I can dump 50 hours into my character. Great, I have a really cool character, but what have you really accomplished? Or the lack of accomplishment in other things? If that's the way you meet your significant other, then it's kind of hazy there. But you have to weigh the pros and cons of everything. If I game for 1,000 hours in WoW, and what's the trade-offs? Right.
You're saying the threshold there for addiction is when you lose the ability to function within society.
That's kind of strong. Everybody is functional to a point. when you start talking about the negative effects. So if, again, I'm going to use military for an example. If this person ends up getting court-martial or ends up losing rank and losing pay, so let's say this person loses pay for approximately, I don't know, say 6 months. Say he's docked $400 a month for 6 months. So we're talking, what, $2,000 plus, all because he had to get one more headshot? Or, he had to go on one more raid? So risk versus reward, what's the trade-off? Okay. All right, that's number one. Number two, I'm going to pick on not just the guys, I'm pick on some of the women as well. Okay, so a 23-year-old Hispanic female comes into my office being seen for anxiety. She is distraught. Now, in the military pay for as much school as you want. They will pay, the military paid for 4 degrees for me. So as long as you keep going and as long as you make good grades, they'll pay for whatever you want. If you fail a class, you got to pay that back. Now, she was distraught. She was relatively low rank, so she didn't make a lot of money anyway. So a class that she fails is about $700. And $700 to a lower enlisted soldier, that's devastating. And it's not, they don't have the option, it gets taken out of their pay. In addition to that, she's failed that class, so you still have to pay that money again to retake the class. So now you're out $1,400. Farmville. People don't think of Farmville as an online game, but it has all the makings of an online game. You have a social aspect being met by trading stuff with your friends.
That's kind of what I'm talking about with gamification.
Mhm.
That's a real phenomenon in more and more applications, mobile and web apps.
Yes.
It's actually
I don't know about more prevalent because now we're talking worldwide. The WoW community, or any type of MMO, I mean, they have a strong player base. I mean, but yes, Facebook and Farmville. What makes Farmville so enticing is you can do it on your cell phone, I believe. You can do it at work. You can do it at home. So you can do it anywhere. So yeah, I'm functioning. I'm at work. I'm here on time. But what was the trade-off? Once again, the trade-off. I keep talking about it's the trade-off. Yes, I'm spending my time playing Farmville, but I didn't study for my class. I didn't take that quiz. And now, guess what? I failed. And her Farmville, sorry? Yeah, you have the best crops. Yeah, you have crops that cost you $1,400. So now, that's the trade-off. I use now CBTIA. I'm gonna give you a little bit background on this. I told you that it was developed by Dr. Young, and he uses a risk reduction model. Risk reduction is seen as the best way to kind of treat an online gaming addict or internet addict. And when I say risk reduction, if I spend, it's a conservative number, say I spend 4 hours a day gaming. And if I spend 4 hours a day gaming, I'm neglecting, say, chores, laundry, cutting the grass, this, that, and the other. So a risk reduction model says, okay, instead of gaming for 4 hours this week, game for 3 hours and 30 minutes, and in those 30 minutes, cut the grass or do laundry. Okay, the next week, instead of 3.5, game for 3 and do this, that, and the other. And eventually, you're not trying to wean them off, but you're trying to reach a healthy balance to where you're still getting your needs met, and you're still functional, and you're still being productive. And this person, again, you don't consider her a heavy internet addict, but this person actually scored an elevated 6 on the internet addiction test. So if you look at number 6, I believe that's the academic impairment portion. Any questions on number 2? All right. cut and dry. And just to give a caveat to Farmville, anybody remember the old BBS days? Yes, love the BBS days. I'm I'm not an old person, but my grandfather had a Commodore 64. Yes, and I loved it. That was my first experience with gaming, and I had that plug-in module modem. It's like 1200 baud or 800 baud, and I would connect to the BBS, and I would play Red Dragon Inn, Trade Wars, Immortal, all those games. And where they had it right is you had a certain number of moves. You can only do so much, and then you had to come back tomorrow. That kind of kept internet addiction and online gaming addiction from being pronounced or actually being discovered back in the late 80s, early 90s, because it actually set limits. Yes, because we can play, but we need to make room for other people to dial in to connect, instead of people hanging out and playing Red Dragon Inn all day long. All right, here we go. I hear this more often than not. So the typical day for a soldier, and I'm generalizing because different branches have different requirements. But typical day, they wake up, dark 30, and they go home, dark 30. So I just want to relax. He's at work from 05:30 in the morning to 6:30 at night. You want to relax too, but his way of relaxing was playing football on Xbox 360. I'll play football. It's pretty good. But his girlfriend says, you don't spend time with me anymore. All you do is come home and play. And then that sparks the argument, I work all day. All you do is do this and do that. And once again, good old risk reduction model. Okay, instead of gaming from this time to this time, let's make a little bit of, let's carve a little niche for your girlfriend. And we'll increase that niche once a week. And let's see if your relationship issues kind of resolve themselves. And guess what? It did. They reached a healthy balance. And if you look at the IAT, those are the elevated scores. Has any of your friends heard this from their significant other? Play too much, you don't spend enough time with me?
Do you see time management as being a lot of the main problem, or?
Time management, that could be an issue, but it's not so much the time aspect. It's getting your wants and needs and desires met within a certain time. So I can watch, say I want to watch TV say I want to watch a TV show. That TV show lasts from this time to this time. There is a beginning and end to that TV show. If I'm playing online, and especially with MMO, there's really no beginning and end. There's no set time. If a raid lasts an hour and a half, it lasts an hour and a half. If it lasts 30 minutes, it lasts 30 minutes. It's not so much the time, it's the activity. The more into the activity. If I'm playing football, I can kind of estimate when my game's going to end, but who knows? Timeouts, this, that, and the other. So it's more of a activity-based constraint than a time constraint, if that makes sense.
Seems like instead of the gaming, you want to focus on why he has to relax in the first place. The stress that caused the need to relax.
He works 13 hours a day. That's and in the social work field, we work to change a person's environment. You can't change that. You have to learn to deal with it the best way you can. Well, why do we work in jobs we don't like? It's always a stepping stone to something better. So you kind of have to endure, the stress and the hardship to hopefully move on to something better. the best and worst job I ever worked in my life was McDonald's. Because one, it said, hey, McDonald's, I got treated like crap, but then that said, hey, I'm motivated to move on to bigger and better things. So I'm pretty sure no one wants to work 13 hours a day forever. I'm pretty sure they have bigger and better things in store. They just have to get there. All right. I got this case study, one more, and then that'll be it. So Air Force. Fort Campbell is an Army post, so we have a very small contingent of Air Force for air traffic control, and they work on the airfield. And he came to my office, anxiety and depression, because he was caught with internet pornography on a government computer. That is a no-no. That is a huge no-no. Now, I don't know where you work, but if you get caught with internet pornography on your computer, you may get a slap on the wrist. They were throwing the book at this guy. And okay, well, internet pornography, why at work? Why was your internet porn addiction so high that you needed to use a work computer? My wife and I don't talk anymore. Breakdown in communication. Why don't you and your wife talk anymore? Well, she doesn't get me. Lack of intimacy. Well, I don't have the social support. Okay, well, we need to increase your social support. Oh, well, who do you talk to? Well, I have my guild who I talk to. Your guild? Slide them to IAT. Yes. So he was into WoW, and I think you mentioned I met my girlfriend online. He was actually having an emotional relationship with one of his guild members. Now, online girlfriend. Now, it may not be a girl, you're absolutely right. But it wasn't the physical connection, it was the emotional connection. It was, this person gets me, this person talks to me, how was your day? This person would rather spend more time talking to a person that they'll probably never meet than their own wife. And unfortunately, it manifested in his internet porn addiction, and it spilled over to the occupational side. But once again, risk reduction. Can you reduce the amount of time you play WoW and talk to your girlfriend, internet girlfriend, in exchange for the hours that you're saving, time you're saving? Have a conversation with your wife. Start having some communication. I don't think it's going to work, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And again, elevated in IAT 3, 4, 11, 19, and 20. All right, and last. 25-year-old Caucasian male. He came to me for domestic violence. Domestic violence. Okay, tell me what happened. Well, me and my wife, we argue about financial issues. Okay, well, what bills can we try to reduce? What can we get rid of in order to get into a better financial state? Well, I have this, and this, and my EverQuest bill. EverQuest. I do a slam dunk with IAT. IAT, people sometimes will they'll build their character up so high, and then real life catches up with them. I started playing EverQuest, not me, but the person said I started playing EverQuest when I was 16. Evercrack, yes. Started playing EverQuest when I was 16. He's now 25, and now he has wife, he has a kid. The priorities change, but he could not let that go, especially in the financial area. So he's on the couch, he's on his laptop, wife says, hey, we need to talk about bills. Whatever, leave me alone. No, we need to talk about bills. The wife grabbed his laptop and said, no, we need to talk about the bills. Now, I think he was in the middle of, I never played EverQuest, so would raid be a correct term, or how does that work? Okay. So he was in the middle of one of his guild activities. He got hot. It's like, woman, don't you touch my laptop, pushes her. Now, in the military, they take domestic violence very seriously. Even for the smallest incident, they will remove the offender, and not even the offender, they'll move the service member. So even if the wife was the assailant, they'll remove the service member and put them in the barracks for 72 hours with no contact. In addition, he'll have to do some type of domestic violence classes. But still, I'm not saying EverQuest was the culprit. I'm going to say it was a factor. And again, IAT, elevated 3, 5, 9, 13, and 20. All right, so in summary, the IAT, it's a tool that I use to kind of give the patient insight into their own addiction. I give them insight into their own psychopathology. Because just by hearing their narrative, I've already have the idea in my mind. But if I tell you something, whatever, I'm blow this guy off. If you do something independently and say, oh, okay, well maybe he is kind of making this, then it's a very powerful tool. Social support. If your wife, mother, daughter says, hey, I think you're playing games too much. Okay, maybe you are. Maybe I'm not. Who knows? But if you start hearing it enough, you might want to give it some credence. And then always have a minute-by-minute replacement plan. If I'm going to reduce my activity by 30 minutes, have something to fill your time, because if you say I'm going to reduce my time by 30 minutes and you just sit there, that itch, that compulsion, like, okay, I'm not doing anything. I wonder what my guild is doing. I wonder, you have to find something to fill your time, and hopefully it's something productive. Any additional questions at this time? Yes, in the back.
So you can use your agents to watch the TED Talk on internet addiction. I know there was a guy at work who used to do the Reddit thing, and when he heard about, when he listened to TED Talk, tested himself against what the points were in the TED Talk. He's like, yeah, I'm pretty much addicted, but oh well. It's like maybe.
No, I haven't actually heard about that. That could be a good tool for them to use, but I try to shy away from giving my patients resources to look up on the internet. It's like telling an alcoholic, hey, I need you, yes, pretty much. So, but yes, anything that's printable, I try to give them that, or we'll talk about strategies on how to reduce their time, what we can fill it with. Yes?
The mentality I run into a lot of times is, yes, I'm addicted, no, I don't care. What do you do when your friend is in that situation?
There's something called the trans-theoretical model of change. And one of the attributes of it is you have to be ready to make the change. If you're not ready to make the change, I can't help you. So there's a stage called pre-contemplation, which means you're not even aware of it. Contemplation means, okay, I'm aware, but am I ready to make that step? So even if I can't get the person to stop, just move them from pre-contemplation to contemplation. That's a win in my book, because it may take them 2 or 3 years to get to the next step of, okay, I'm gonna reduce my time, but just planting that seed, you gotta give it time to grow. Yes.
My name is Thomas, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Thomas.
So, I really am an addict to Heroes, okay? I don't play at all right now. I'm clean. But it is kind of like that for me. I can have a conversation about, like, there a reason why that works? Because I don't think that would work for me. You said just 2 hours. I'd be like, okay, 2 hours. As soon as I was out of therapy, we'd be back to 4.
Well, first of all, on the addict thing, there's actually a group. It's similar to Al-Anon. I think it's called Online Gaming Anonymous. They actually copied the exact principles from Al-Anon to that. One is a physiological issue. You can become okay. There's a difference between dependence and addiction. If you are physiologically dependent on a substance, then you can want to stop all you want, but your body will say, I'm not getting what I'm used to. Let's go into cardiac arrest. Where this is more in the mind. I mean, you'll still have the want, you'll still have the desire, but it's kind of comparing apples and oranges at this point. Is it dangerous? It can be dangerous in the right circumstances, online gaming, especially in the military aspect and deployed environment. But one is the result of a problem, I guess, if that makes sense, and one is actually a problem. If I see somebody drinking a beer driving down the road in Nashville, that's an immediate concern. If I see somebody playing Farmville on their cell phone at a traffic light, that's a concern too. But odds are they'll probably make it home and not, probably safer than the person guzzling a beer. Maybe. Who knows? Yes.
We considered obsession a notable trait among the programmers, and not an addiction problem at all. It was just how you got ahead.
And you know what? I think you're absolutely right. I love playing games. My drug of choice is Left 4 Dead 2, but there comes a time. Okay, my obsession versus my well-being. If I want to, there are motivating factors in life. Okay, I get up every morning because not that I don't want to go to work. It's just I want to make some money.
With that in mind, I admit I'm a compulsive day trader, and I make a lot of money. So that's not then an addiction.
Right.
And it's no longer against the law to smoke pot in Colorado.
But once again, it goes into the impairment. What impairments are being displayed? If you're a programmer and you're obsessed about the code and I got to get this debugging right, great. Are you ignoring your wife, your children? What are the trade-offs?
Success.
Okay, so but you
And loneliness.
and okay.
So positive. So if you have a positive result, it's different than if you have negative results. Or like you said, you're
Right. Right, your pros and cons to everything. Now, taking a logical approach to this, let's say you're a programmer and you got to be obsessed about this code. I got this right. Okay, pro column, con column. If the pros outweigh the cons, more power to you. Rock on. But if one of the cons is you're lonely, then again, it's that insight, that self-awareness. I know this is going to be an issue. I'm willing to accept this. I'm not ready to make that change just yet. If the seed is planted, that it's a possibility. If I moved you from pre-contemplation to contemplation, I consider that a success. Yes?
Why were you motivated to come here today and speak to us?
Good question. Okay, so a little bit about my background. I have a bachelor's in sociology, a master's in information technology. a master's in social work and a doctorate in psychology. I used to be the CIO of the military hospital at Fort Stewart, and I love IT. But when I got to the CIO level, I was no longer hands-on. I was managing the people that were hands-on. So my love and my passion for IT, it kind of dwindled because became my manager by spreadsheet, and I didn't like that. So the Army offered a social work program to where I can transition to be a mental health officer, and I said, you know what? A combination of IT and mental health, I think I can get on board with that. So and there are a lot of issues that are associated with IT that a lot of therapists just won't touch because, again, if you mention computers to somebody that they don't understand, I have the best of both worlds. I know the IT side. I know the clinical side. So I feel that I'm in a better position than my peers to, well, provide help and assistance to those who need it. So, but I was scheduled to come here last year to be a participant, but I ended up having surgery, sleep apnea surgery, so I missed it. But I'm here today, and I have definitely enjoyed the talks from everyone, and I felt, well, I might as well contribute some of the knowledge I have. So, answer your question. Yes, in the back. Specifically online gaming addiction, or just what types of addiction? I have not studied or seen a correlation between PTSD and online gaming addiction. The only correlation that I could even speculate on would be the need to be engaged in a military environment. And I say military environment, I mean first-person shooters. You'll see people who will play first-person shooters as a way to get rid of some of the anger and aggression. And if you met somebody with PTSD, anger and aggression, they may have an underlying irritability, just irritable. That's the best way I can put it. They're not mad, but they're always. I would say I'm just irritable is the best way I can put it. So to kind of get rid of some of that irritability, some of that the angst, like you put it, let's just shoot some people, virtual people, in the head and kind of relieve some of that stress. But I haven't seen a direct correlation between PTSD and online gaming addiction, to answer your question. Just speculating. Yes?
Games were used in the military to try to desensitize recruits to shooting people. And now, I guess my question is, did that ever cause people to become addicted to it?
The way you phrase that, not exactly. Games, America's Army. Seen it? Played it? Yes, no? Okay, so America's Army was created by the military to be a recruiting tool, to kind of show the recruits, this is what your life is going to be like. And it was very accurate, very realistic. Terrible game, but very accurate and very realistic. They have something called EST, Engagement Skills Trainers. Now, the military, they do have games, but they're more of simulators, kind of a shoot, no shoot scenario. This is what you do, this is when you shoot, this is when you don't shoot. I wouldn't phrase it to say that it was to desensitize them, it was to better prepare them. It's more of a muscle memory. It's more of a cognitive reflex. So I wouldn't call it a desensitization, I would call it, well, what it is, a trainer. Yes, exactly. You're not wasting real ammo.
It's also affordable too. Like when we do training in smaller places that doesn't have a large range, like when we train them on Bradley fight people with 255 millimeter, and we can't just go shoot that anywhere. So we'll train in those, and those are actually like an actual Bradley that just has TV screens on it. It's actually pretty good. That sounds like an engine bomb.
Yes.
Military's going from 1 to 10 anyway.
Yes, but the key thing is train as you fight. And if to avoid an incident on CNN, let them play a few video games to get that muscle memory. Yes? It's being talked about as a diagnosis in the DSM-5 coming out in, I'd say, mid-2013. The main definition is internet addiction, but they have subcategories, which could be gaming, this, that, and the other. But yeah, gaming would be a subcategory of internet addiction as an official diagnosis in the 2013 DSM-5. Any other questions? All right, well, that's my talk.
And just so you know, the 1 o'clock is to be determined. It's Ranger Z, and the rumor is it's on Android. So